Our story begins with a piece of steel. It's a 1/4 inch thick. I'm cutting a piece off the end that I'm going to be making some parts from. And the parts that I'm going to be making are for a clamp. And I actually designed this to 3D print shortly after I got into 3D printing, and it works well for light duty stuff. But I thought it would be interesting to redesign it so that I can make it from metal instead. So I took the original that I designed in FreeCAD and modeled it so that the parts are made from 1/4 inch thick plate aluminum and that 1/4 inch thick steel. And as I almost always do, I start with the parts that are the most difficult to make, and that would be the steel ones. And I'm going to be making these parts on my homemade metal cutting CNC. The first thing I need to do is clean off the bed, and then I can get that piece of steel clamped down. And I already have the tool paths programmed for these parts. And the first operation is to cut the holes for the lead screws. These are going to be threaded afterwards. So I'm making them the right size for that. And then I can cut out the profile. And you might be saying, why are you making these parts from flat 1/4 inch steel rather than, say, round bar? Because that makes more sense. But I just thought this would be interesting. Half of what I'm doing these days is just trying things out to see what I can do. And at this point, I was having problems with the parts coming loose after they finished the cut. I had tabs programmed in, but they were too thin. And the second one being cut came loose and broke the end mill. And so I had to redesign the tool paths again and start over in a fresh area. Not a big deal because steel is a relatively cheap material, and I actually got this piece that I'm using here for free from a job I was doing a few years ago. One of those found pieces of material that you can often get when you work construction. And here are all 6 recut, and as you can see, there's quite a mess on my bed the next day. I left this sitting there overnight, and all of the chips rusted and fused together. So I had to scrape that off and clean it up. Made a big mess. And I know there's coolant that you can use that'll stop the rusting. And I actually bought some after this to use in the future. But in the meantime, I'll stay on top of the cleaning, learning my lesson. And I was able to cut out the other 6 of these that I need. There are 2 of these particular parts in each clamp. One has a 3/8 inch thread for the lead screw, and the other one has a smaller hole that goes at the end of the lead screw. With that done, I can take the blank out to the workshop, and leaving the parts in there, I'm going to thread these larger holes with a 3/8 inch tap. Start the threading by hand, and then of course it gets pretty hard. So what I did was I took a screwdriver that I don't use, and I cut the end off so that I can use that in the holes in the drill press chuck as a wrench. And I gotta say, this was hard work. This took a full afternoon to thread all 6 of these holes. But I eventually got them all done, and I took the time to deburr the holes and also sanded the parts nice and smooth, cleaned them up before cutting them free. Okay, I've got a piece of wood here and I'm making a cut in it so that I can drill a hole down through this and make it so that it clamps on the drill bit that I use so that I can drill into the ends of the threaded rod that will be the lead screws. And the reason why I'm doing this is that the best way to make sure that your hole is centered in a part that's round is to spin the part and hold the drill bit stationary. And I'll feed the spinning threaded rod down onto it to drill the hole dead center. And yeah, as you can see, even though I clamped it down, it moved, but it was still close enough. While it would be nice to have these holes perfectly centered, it's not really that important. Or at least that's the excuse I'm going with. And while you can see this is obviously working, while I was doing it, I realized that I've got a vise that I never use that would probably work a lot better than this. So I dug it out of the corner of the shop that it was sitting in, clamped a thin piece of wood in there to give me a little bit of space in between the jaws, and then I used that same drill bit to drill a hole down through the jaws, and that'll give me a hole that's perfectly vertical to hold the drill bit with rather than clamping it in the piece of wood. And as you can see, it's a lot more convenient. I can use the chuck to get it lined up and then get the threaded rod put in and start drilling. Some of you that are watching this are probably thinking that I should have a metal lathe to do this kind of work. And I've been thinking about getting one or possibly converting my wood lathe over to a very cobbled together version. I actually use that lathe a few times for metalworking projects. I need this hole in the end for a screw. So once again, I need to tap these out, but this time with a 1024 tap. And like before, I'm using the drill press to do that. In the meantime, I've got parts to make from 1/4" aluminum. These first ones are what I'm calling the pivots, and they have a rectangular hole and a stepped profile around the outside, and that step goes halfway through the material, or 1/8 of an inch deep. I need quite a few of these, and it gives me the opportunity to use up some scraps that I had left over from making my bandsaw table. Back out in the workshop, I've got more work to do on those steel parts to round the corners so that they'll fit in that rectangular hole neatly in the pivots. And you can see how that goes together right here. And yes, I'm making 6 clamps, so that means I've got 12 of these to get ready. And here's how it goes together. The screw goes through and screws into the end of the threaded rod. Now back to the metal cutting CNC. I'll get a bigger blank put in to cut what I'm calling the long claws. And there's a series of cuts here that I need to make. And one of those is to cut a recess for the short claw to fit into. The original that I designed to 3D print had these claws overlaying each other. And of course that works, but I'm using a stronger material here. And this gives me the opportunity to make a clamp that's more compact, as in it's not as wide. And the handy thing about the flood coolant is that it allows you to clean up and wash away some of these chips so it can have a better look. So with 6 clamps, I need 2 of these per clamp, and half of those have to be turned around so that they're oriented the opposite way. But I sized the blank so I can get all 12 from it. And once again, using the flood coolant, which is just water, to rinse away the chips. Now because I need to machine these on the other side, I've taken a piece of plywood and I'm going to cut out a recess that matches those claws precisely. So I'll be able to clamp those down and do the milling on the other side. And the milling that I need to do is to cut the step for the pivot to fit into. I get the first 6 done, and then I milled the recess for the opposite ones and got those cut as well. So that's all 12 of the long claws done. Then I got another blank, and this is big enough to get all 12 of the short claws. Except this time, I don't need to do any milling on the other side. Back out to the shop, I want to make the steel parts so that they're a little bit rust resistant, and also I want to make them black if possible. I thought about painting them, but then it occurred to me I can hot glue these, and that's where you heat it up with a torch and then dunk it in oil. And you can use any oil, but I'm using boiled linseed oil, just because I happen to have some out in the shop. Now I can get my vise set up again, and a bigger drill bit put in at this time and lined up with the chuck. Except this time I want to clamp it down so that it doesn't move, because I need to make the pivot pins for the clamp. And this is a complex part that I need to drill dead center on all the way through. And I don't have a proper center drill, but I've got a short 1/4 inch drill bit that I can put in that's very sharp, and that'll act to give me a center point that I can use so that I can drill the smaller hole, and it will be dead center on the part this time. And I'm going to take the time to center drill all 6 of the pins that I need on both ends before I change out the bit to the one that I need to drill them out with. The stock I've got here is 5/16 inch round bar, and like I said, I need to drill the hole all the way through, and I also need to tap these out. So once again, I burned up an entire full afternoon doing this. Some of you might be thinking, what's with all this CNC stuff and this metalworking stuff and this 3D printing crap? I didn't subscribe for that. What happened to woodworking? Well, if you look back through my catalog of videos, you'll see that I've got quite a few where I've worked with metal and used the CNC and made stuff from plastic. Look at the top of my table saw, for instance. So there's nothing out of the ordinary about the videos that I've been making lately. The only thing is that I've been making less videos. I gotta be honest, I'm getting old. I don't feel as good as I used to. And I'm less concerned about pumping out content. So I'm gonna make the videos that I want to make. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, that's fine too. The holes that I drilled need to be countersunk so that the flathead screws that I'm going to be using will sit down inside this pin. So without changing my setup, I just put a countersink in the drill press and drilled out one side. And these need to be a precise length as well. So I'm using my calipers to measure to make sure that they are before I countersink the other side. Now for the tapping that I talked about, the 1024 tap in here. And here's a tip that might come in handy. What I always do is I grind a flat spot on the side of the tap so that it'll stop it from slipping. And that flat spot puts it off balance slightly, but it really doesn't matter when you got a low speed operation like this. Once again, I'm using that screwdriver handle to turn the chuck. And then I can take these, and to clean up the outside, I just put a tap in the drill and threaded the pin on and used some sandpaper to make them nice and shiny. And then once again, they get heat treated and dunked in the oil. And then I can use a magnet to get them back up out of the oil. Now for the handles, I want to make them from wood, and the shape is my standard shape, which I'm very happy with. And like those clamps, I want to make it from spalted maple. So I've got a hunk of the tree that I cut down a few years ago. I'm going to plane one side flat on my homemade jointer and square up one edge on the homemade jointer so that I can cut it more safely on the table saw. I need 2 blanks from this piece that are 1 inch square. The piece is around 12 inches long. So I'll get 3 pieces from each blank, and I'll cut those to length using my mini table saw sled. The next step for making the handles is to drill a hole down the center. And I'm going to do that on my drill press that has the handy feature of having a vise built in First thing I need to do is take off the table. Then I can get the piece lined up in there. And these wheels on the side loosen it so that I can roll it in and out to get the location correct. And then I can use a square to square the stock. And I've got a piece here that I'm using as a fence to make sure that I get them all in the same spot. Now to cut the taper, I've got a piece of plywood here that I'm cutting a jig that'll hold the part while I run it through the table saw. And of course this can be done 100% on the sander, but there's a lot of stock to remove to get the taper that I want. Then I can take them all over to the sander and tune them up. Slightly round the corners and make everything nice and smooth. The threaded rod is glued into the handle, and to key it so that it won't turn, I'm going to grind a flat spot on there. And of course I'm using polyurethane construction adhesive to glue the handles in. In my many years of making clamps, I've never had a handle come loose. Now you might be saying, what do you have 3D printing now, John? And these are the pads actually for the clamp. I thought I would try it out and see how durable they hold up. Eventually I would like to make them out of metal, but I didn't have any stock that's thick enough. And with those in hand, all of the parts are ready. I did a little bit of cleanup on all the aluminum parts with some 220 sandpaper. And these pads are made in two pieces with the insert printed at a different orientation to add strength, and I glued those in. Now assembly starts with the lead screw getting screwed into one of those steel parts, the one that's threaded, and it took a little bit of work to get this on because those threads were filled up with boiled linseed oil that was in there from me blackening the parts. So after that I took the tap and I chased out those threads to clean out that gluey residue. And then the other steel part gets mounted on the end with the screw, but to keep the screw from unscrewing, I'm going to use some super glue as thread locker before driving that screw in. And trying to do this while holding it up for the camera so that you guys can see it is kind of awkward. And it took me a little bit of messing around to try to get this lined up properly. But eventually I did, and tightened the screw in all the way and then backed it off half a turn so that that piece can rotate freely. Then those pivots get put on those pieces. As you can see, nice fit. I really like that feature. And those look way cooler than a round bar would. Then I can take my jaws and get those put in place. As you can see, they fit onto the pivots and nestle into those steps. And I can flip it over and get the pivot pin put in, along with a spacer that once again is 3D printed, but then it's just a spacer, and get the other jaws put on and thread in the screws. And you can see why the ends of those pins had to be countersunk so that they'll engage with the claws, first of all, and also make it so that those screws are flush with the outside. And then the pads are installed with number 6 wood screws, one on each side of each pad. And of course, there are a couple of benefits to the 3D printed pads. First of all, they're soft, so that they're not going to mark up the material that you're trying to clamp. And also, if they break, I can just print new ones to replace them with. No big deal. I can also change the color if I want. I like options. And then I can get the rest of them put together, and here you can see how they work. I like the one-handed spin it open, spin it closed functionality of these clamps. And even if you don't want to admit it, these look pretty cool.